What's up, guys? It's Zell with Zell Media here. We're back at it again, reviewing One Piece Chapter 1033, entitled Shimotsuki Kozaburo. It's a Zoro chapter. It's just about to get lit, so let's hop right in. We start off with this week's cover story in the reader requests, and again, we get a kind of cover story, but I like it. It's cute. We get Tashigi and a bunch of penguins playing heroes and villains. And then Smoker's kind of like scaring the shit out of another penguin in the background. So that's always funny. But I like it. Tashigi's here. And this is a chapter solely focused on Zoro. And she's Kuina's body double. So who doesn't like that type of stuff? And always fun to see Smoker as well. But we pick up where we left off last week in Enma and Zoro's struggle for power. King doesn't care about this struggle for power. And he's like, yeah, why are you arguing with your freaking sword here? You're supposed to be a swordsman. You shouldn't be arguing. Anyways, and then he just speed blitzes him. Like legit full on literally blitzes him. And Zoro and then stops short like he's playing chicken. And Zoro just has no real response and he's just like what the heck, and stabs him. And then King blows up. And then we cut to a completely different panel with Sanji and Queen in the bathhouse or the pleasure hall. And Queen's grilling Sanji going, is that Zoro that, or is that pirate, is that the pirate hunter you were just talking to? And Sanji's like, yeah, it was him. And Queen goes, there's no way he's going to beat King. King's the last of the Lunarians, so we do get it confirmed that King is a Lunarian. And then he goes on to say those people were revered as gods. They were endlessly adaptable and they thrived in every environment. And so Sanji kind of, asked the question that everyone wants to know at that point is like, if they're so powerful, how the hell did they die? And Queen doesn't really offer much of an answer. He just says, go read a history book, and then fires off his bargain brand Boro breath in the black coffee bean. Now, I will say Sanji did kick Queen through a bunch of walls with that Hell's Memories kick, and that is where we pick up with them. But we don't really get much more from them as we cut over immediately to Zoro and King again, where King is just standing there, Studley, post blow up. We get a small panel during the blow up on this page that shows that Momo has started towing the island, which is important. We might see more from Momo in chapter 1034 or 1035, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But so far, that's all we get. We then see Zoro kind of admitting that if he didn't put up armament Haki, he was as good as done for, in his own words, which isn't ever true. Characters always say that. They're like, oh, I would have died. And then it's like, also, Zoro, nothing happened. Whatever is what it is. But no, so he takes a full-on explosion, uses armament Haki to get back up, or to block it, and struggles back to his feet. He then pulls out the Death Lion Strike, which is an upgraded version of what he used to attack Das Bones, and this thing falls flat like Burger King Sprite. Like, this thing does not hit at all. Like, it hits. It's there, but just like with the bubbles in Burger King Sprite, that shit, non-existent. The attack did no damage at all. And Zoro even takes note of this. He's like, what the hell? Like, this is my finishing move. This is one of my finishing moves, and this shit did nothing. That was definitely a more powerful attack, and nothing. This guy's just standing here. And King's just like, yeah, what's good? And then pulls this freaking Imperial Drive again, or Imperial Deep Pride Steak. Sorry, dyslexic. But it pulls this move again, and blows up the whole freaking side of the mountain. So Zoro, like, falls out. And then so Zoro kind of like is falling out, and then we kind of cut to where Zoro gets hit because Enma starts drawing on him again. So he kind of gets hit on his side. Not a super deep hit. I imagine it's not so much damage. We are talking about Zoro after all. But he definitely gets hit, and then the attack continues on and blows up the entire foothold. So Zoro is now falling, tumbling, in free fall, and he reaches and he drops all of his swords in the process of getting hit, and he grabs he reaches while falling and grabs Sandai Kitetsu out of the air. Sandai, once he grabs a hold of it, brings back a memory for him of him talking with Tenguyama, and Tenguyama telling him about the sword, that being the sword he created, and then also back to Ippon Matsu's shop where he had originally got the sword. And so then we kind of go into these Zoro flashback while still being in reality. Because right after that, we get King giving, Zoro the Diable Jambe apparently, and kicking him right back into the mountain, which is good. Like, we don't often see people keeping good on their word, so it showed to me that the merit and promise within the Beast Pirates actually does stand quite strong, which means that, yeah, King and Queen and Jack would have absolutely dusted any of the freaking Tobi Roppo, because the Tobi Roppo had nothing on King, Queen, and Jack. I promise you. We've seen what the Tobi Roppo can do, and ain't none of them touching King, Queen, or Jack. Even though Jack's the Mac Daddy of all flops, he's still taking out every one of those. So Zoro goes to grab the Sandai Kitetsu out of the air, and then gets absolutely blasted back into the mountain by King with a fiery kick, which kind of speaks a lot to King, Kaido, Queen, and the Beast Pirates as a whole, and that promise that King had made to Zoro not to let him die a weak death, like falling into the sea. And I imagine Zoro's also going to honor his statement to not just go for the head of King. I think that this is something that will be expanded on throughout the next chapter, but it is good to see that someone's just keeping their promise. Like, it's always nice to see that. Anyways, King boots Zoro back into the mountain, and he ends up landing right next to the Wado Ichimonji. Zoro's like, damn, that kick was hot, as he crawls towards the Wado, and then once he grabs a hold of it, it's a beautiful panel. He gets a memory of his promise to Kuina, and him talking with it about talking about the sword with Tenguyama Hitetsu, and then we get to see as he moves forward, again trying to stand back up, and King's unrelenting in his attacks, keeps on coming, starts throwing the sling and arrows attack, and then follows up with just a generic wing attack, to which Zoro finally grabs Enma to block with it, but gets blown back again and again. Like, it's really good. Throughout this chapter, we've seen Zoro struggle a lot, and I very much enjoy it. Every time Zoro struggles, which is exactly like 2 times in the entire story, it's always great to see, because Zoro needs that same progression that we get. Not as much with Luffy, because Zoro's just supposed to be King badass, and Luffy, we need more explanation, and he's like the main character, so we care most about him. But Zoro needs that too. The same as Sanji needs it, the same as anyone on the crew needs to get beat down, so that we're seeing where they learn. Or, same as Chopper needs to be shown reading books so that he gets more medical knowledge. Right? So those types of things are important to me, and seeing a chapter where Zoro's getting his ass handed to him like he has been by King this entire time is really, really good. Anyways, he gets flung back, and the Enma just kind of sticks into a rock, and he gets this flashback of Shimotsuki Kozaburo, the old man on the pier, always just looking out at the sea, like always looking out at the coast, and he starts piecing things together. And then Kozaburo has this amazing, like, initially Kozaburo is just like, what are you doing? Like, he asked Kozaburo about whether or not he was a samurai, and Kozaburo's like, yeah, I wasn't, shut up about it, kid. Like, I don't want the Navy coming here. And Zoro's kind of surprised by the fact that the Navy would come here over him being a samurai. And that kind of goes to a lot of theories that everyone in the community has, but we're not going to address that. But yeah, Zoro's kind of taken aback by that. And then he's just like, all right, whatever, fine. Screw you too, you old geezer. And then Zoro loses to Kuina. And so Kozaburo sees that Zoro's just training like a freaking dog and calls him over. and starts a conversation with him and gives him these swords, and he's like, and Zoro's like, I can't pay for this, dude, and he's like, take them, they're crap. I know more than anybody. I'll give them to you for free. They're a gift. And Zoro's like, thank you. And he's like, and then he goes into explaining what a sword is. He explains that these are weapons of murder. They aren't here to be played with. They're not toys. They are very dangerous items. And this kind of makes Zoro flinch. He's like, geez. And he's looking at it kind of like, yikes. Yikes is what he actually says. And then he goes on to say a sword has its own personality, and a swordsman has to bend that personality to its will. He goes on to talk about how cursed swords aren't really cursed weapons. They're just exceptionally good blades that are forged so well that they have like these unbreakable, almost unbendable wills. And it's just a weak you're just a weak swordsman if you don't, get good and become the master of that sword. And so Zoro kind of slowly pieces things together and then gets back up and he blames himself. He goes, swords are honest and I wasn't. I have to understand what was going on. And so then he gets back up and Enma's still drawing on him. And he asks Enma, did Odin wield you like this? He wield you as if you were as light as a feather, even though you draw like all of this. So he kind of sees the distance between him and Odin. It's a beautiful scene, and I really enjoyed it. And then we get the next scene, the scenes that everyone loves so much. We get a spread of Zoro figuring out what he needs to do, and then we get Fodder showing up, and then we get Zoro with the official and confirmed Conqueror's Haki, boom, like knocking everybody out. So that was awesome. That was fantastic, and Man, what a chapter that was. My MVP for this chapter is definitely Zoro. I know Sanji stan here, and I love Sanji, but Zoro is also amazing. He might not make my top 5, but he definitely makes my top 10. And this chapter was absolutely a 10. Like, man, this chapter was outstanding. We got everything that we could have possibly wanted. At least I did. I got to see a completely badass fight between him and Zoro. Sanji was in the chapter, which is always a boon. We got a little bit of backstory on King. We got a lot of backstory on Zoro. We understood more about the Shimotsukis. And then we got to know more about cursed swords and how that works. And I think everybody always wants to know more about these things. So I was very happy with it. And yeah, I look forward to seeing what comes in the next chapter. It is, again, just 1 week until the next chapter. I think 5 days now that I'm posting this, kind of late. But hey, man, it's an outstanding chapter. 100% 10 out of 10. I love seeing Zoro struggle because you don't get to see it often. I think the last time we saw him struggle like this was actually against Das Bones. At least in a solo fight. Obviously, he had the struggle with like Kuma or something like that, but he wasn't supposed to beat those people. So yeah, I very much enjoy this chapter. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys next week. Peace out.